Hey, it's Talk to an Expert Day. Today we are talking to Maren on the steps to manifestation. How is it we can do some amazing and sometimes unexplainable things, like heal our own bodies by the power of our thought? Mother's intuition, the law of attraction. Can we really tap into our subconscious mind? Can we really create our own realities? It begs the question, are we novice gods? Hey, thank you guys so much for joining me. We have Maren, our expert on manifestation, on manifesting, on conscious creation. I hope that you write in the comments below, maybe your ideas for what we call this. We're still trying to figure that out. But Maren is somebody who has manifested a bunch of things magically and just amazingly. So make sure you check out the other episode that she's in, and she will talk about all the different things she's manifested, positive and negative. And it may give you some ideas for some things that you want in your life. Well, today we're going to talk to her about the steps to manifestation. She's kind of figured a lot of this stuff out on her own through experiences. And she'll share with you, how to actually create that in your life. So tell us, what do you think are, some of the steps of manifestation or manifesting or conscious creation or whatever we call it?
One of the first things, I do believe that we create everything spiritually before we create it physically. So becoming really clear on what it is you want and getting more specific into what it is you really want. Like if you want lots of money, okay, that's great, but what do you want the money for? Do you want it so that you feel secure, or in my case, so that I just have a sense of freedom and peace? And those are states of mind that can be created, as have been said in earlier episodes, today. And but becoming clear on what it is you want, and there can be the material things that you want along the way as part of that. And as you get that clarity, there's lots of ways to keep it in front of you. There's visualizing. You can be very, very specific and write out, scenarios. You can record them. You can listen to them of, all the details. And it's amazing how so many times when it happens, it's exactly as you had envisioned it.
So you were talking about, in our episode before, you talked about how you manifested your husband.
Yes.
And you actually had like a list of qualities that you wanted him to have, and you wrote it down, right?
Yeah.
And then you lost the list, or I don't know, but it was years later. Tell us a little bit about that and finding that list, and how that list, being specific there, ties into having that clarity in creating.
Yeah, so I was married before. I was very unhappy, but I had no intentions of a divorce at that time. But I, was just getting into this whole conscious creation and, what do I want? So I love making lists. So I made a list on paper, bullet points, and just line by line what I wanted. And, that list got put wherever, and life went on, and my first husband eventually left. And then I met Jeff, and we dated, and goodness, it was like just everything fell into place. It was beautiful. And after we'd been married about a year, I found that list. And it was amazing because line by line, so specifics worked in this case, like line by line, he was everything, absolutely everything I'd written down. And, and that was great because it was putting it out there, not knowing and being open to how it would come. I was hoping through my current husband, I did not expect a divorce. But, being open to the way God feels is best, the way things show up that ultimately get you what you want after you're specific and put it out there.
So I'm hearing kind of two steps there, right? The first one is to be really specific on what you want. Write it down is a great thing to do because that helps you get clarity. But then you said put it out there. What does that mean to put it out there? This is kind of the ask, I think. Ask in the universe.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, so what does that mean? And it means different things to other people, but what does that mean for you, Maren?
Okay, I also use other tools like dream boards and things just to keep the picture of what I want in front of me. And then you have to let go of the outcome because it's like if you plant a seed and then you dig it up every day to see if it's growing, you're going to kill this poor thing. But if you ask and and sometimes these things take time. I had a health crisis where I was bedridden for 4 years, and 2 years in, I decided, okay, I'm manifesting or creating whatever, a different future. And I did, but it was 2 more years. And ultimately, all of my prayers were answered. All the things I put out there have happened, but there was time there. So a lot of it, I think, is the faith aspect, is letting go and trusting. I also like to think of it like you placed an order to a catalog. Well, catalogs online. You placed an order
online. The big
online.
Amazon online, right?
Yeah. You placed an order, and it's coming. It's coming. So that's where the faith comes in. When you work through, I guess sometimes you have to clear out your doubts and change what your beliefs really are behind it. But once you know it's coming, you can just let go and just trust it's coming. And maybe it got lost in the mail for a little bit. Who knows?
This is where I have the hardest part, and this is where I'm so excited to talk to Maren about. I'm not good at letting go. So can you let me know, well, first of all, how hard do I have to work at manifesting and to writing it down and getting clear and having emotion? We need to talk about emotion. I know you talked about that in the last episode, but how long do I do that? And then when do I let go, and what does letting go look like? Because I find that I obsess on the working at it, and I never let go, and I think it slows the process down for me. So I want to figure out, Maren, how did you do it, and what can we do that can make it easier or more consistent? You know what I mean?
Yeah, good question. So the more you focus on it, sometimes there's the yes, but there's the I want this, but then all of your blocks to getting it come up in your head. So the more that you are obsessing, and I've done this, I have lots of experience from not succeeding in this, but so the more you obsess, it's, best if you can just kind of spend some time getting clear on what you want. And in my case, the things that I'm working on creating now that I don't have currently in my physical life, they're still there. It's not like the lists that I've written that I lost. They're still there. They're on my vision board. They're kind of like little things I visualize all the time. But the years that I was down, I did that too. I could see ahead to a picture of me at the dinner table when I couldn't even sit up at that point with a family full of kids, and I only had one son at that moment. Now I have 3 kids. And so, I continue to touch on it, but ultimately, at that point, I knew it was out of my control. So I had to put my, the whole ask and you shall receive, I've asked plenty of times, and I had to put the answering of it, it was out of my control. I had to put that in God's hands. And let it go. And it's taken a lot to really trust that, God does have our best interest in heart, and what will come will be what we're asking for specifically or better. And to just really trust and have faith. It's a leap of faith, a big leap of faith.
So how do you do that when you are, when you had bad health, and you realized that you had kind of manifested that in, and then you worked at manifesting your good health in, but each day you're probably thinking about your bad health, right? So how do you, when you're still in the situation, when you're still not getting what you want, you've created it mentally in your mind, you've written it down, you've gone through the steps, but since you're still in it, how do you not obsess on what you don't have? Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. That is easy to do. More people can probably relate to money issues. So when you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's hard to envision life being different than that because that's your reality. And it was hard. At first, I remember my husband and I would talk about it, and we couldn't even picture me being downstairs cooking, in the kitchen. It was so far from where we were. So sometimes it's line upon line and you take, small steps, but I also always kind of put out there the bigger picture of where I wanted to go. But in the process, there's lots of mini miracles along the way and mini manifestations to get to the bigger picture. But it is hard to put yourself in that place when you're not there, when you're so not there. I mean, with my health, I was having these seizures that completely debilitated me. They would last for hours, and it was hard to, at that point, think things will ever be different. And that, it was a surrendering to my situation. There wasn't anything else I could do,
Yeah, surrendering, I think, is a great word. I know that Oprah talks about this in her experience when she had this belief she was going to be in the Color Purple movie, and she had worked so hard at manifesting it, and then and I think surrender was the word that she used. She was actually singing a hymn to herself that was about surrendering and turning it over to God. This is the part I have the hardest time with, and if you are in the same boat, just know that these are kind of the steps to manifesting. It's being very clear on what you want, asking, putting it out to the universe, and I see the universe as God and like this whole collection of intelligences that all work together to bring us, kind of what we, they organize all the energy, and so everything is energy, and that's kind of how it comes to us. So we talked about be clear.
So I have one other thing to
Yeah.
add. So one thing is raising your vibration. You attract what you are and where you are. And so there's lots of things you can do to start to get out of this, thoughts is one thing. Thoughts are the hardest to change through, affirmations, because that takes repetition. It works ultimately over time, but there's a lot of things you can do. You start filling your life with things that light you up. Things that right now, help you sparkle and bring you to life. And the more that you get into that space, it's a lot easier for the good things to come to you. And especially, now this is kind of a key point. It's very paradoxical maybe, but if you can let go of needing it, which is so hard when you are, trying to survive and feel like you're drowning half the time. But if you can let go of having to have it, that's when the miracles often come the fastest. Is when you are, that's the surrender, I think, that we were talking about, and
like that.
Not, I'm going to be okay whether I have this or not, because my state of being I want is peace, and I've found ways to have that. And then once I let that go, next thing I know, it's coming to me.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a phrase for that last step is to trust the process. To really, and this is where faith comes in. Faith is a greater power than we ever imagined. Anyway, this whole show's about faith, and hopefully this helps give you some ideas that will help build your faith, help build your connection with God. But you absolutely are more powerful than you think, because you are connected to God. You are His child, and He loves you, and there are things you can do right now to enjoy abundance in your life. So did we cover all the steps of creation? Is there anything else that we're missing?
I was thinking one I had thought of earlier, which goes along with everything we've said, especially when I was so sick. I had a young child I wanted to be the mother to, and I wanted to have more children. So prayer was a huge part of what I did, but I think that goes along with the whole ask and you shall receive. And so there was a lot of prayer and a lot of faith. And since I had a lot of downtime, it wasn't all functional wasn't very much functional downtime, but I did, I really dove into spiritual practices and to trying to connect to my higher power during that time. I remember back then, one thing I wanted to manifest was one single day that I made it through the whole day and felt, maybe not up walking yet, but didn't have the neurological things happening. Just one day. And I remember another time that I just said, okay, my body's so sensitive. If I could just replace these debilitating symptoms with tiredness, I would take that. And, it's all relative. And now, day after day, if I have a bad day, that's the weird, that's the unusual part. And, I'll get really tired. I'll start complaining. I'm like, wait a minute, I asked for this. This is so much better than where I was. But yeah, as I was saying, prayer was a huge part for that, and I believe that helped a lot.
Well, thank you, Maren, and hopefully that helps you to know what the steps to manifestation are, and hopefully as you put those into practice and really get clear on what you want, you ask so that you can receive, you let go, and you trust the process. As you do these things, hopefully this will help you. I would love in the show notes below for you to write down and share with us anything that you've been able to manifest, or any other tips that you have on how to do this more effectively. This is something we're all learning and hopefully getting better at. I think we're kind of gods in training, novice gods, as we kind of talk about in this series. And I'd like to get a little bit better at it and level up, as soon as we can. So hopefully that helps you out with where you're at. Also, down in the show notes, you'll be able to see I have a free planner if you'd like to get that, and it guides you through an activity to do each day that helps you just have something that you would like to manifest in your life. And anyway, it's kind of fun. You can check that out if you'd like. So thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you on another episode of Are We Novice Gods? Hey friends, want to get rid of stress, anxiety, and worry? Ready to use some of your inner creation powers? Visit scottwilhite.com and join me for a web class. If you do it soon, I'll give you a free planner.